To some, Sakamoto is an ugly, disgusting loser. But to most, Sakamoto is the most popular and handsome guy at school. He does everything in a cool way: school tasks, lunch, and even punishments, making all the girls go crazy about him. However, there are a bunch of troublemakers upset and jealous about Sakamoto. Atsushi, Mario, and Kenken complain about how Sakamoto acts too cool, and all the girls like him. They end up joking about how handsome they are, despite being 30-year-olds who got hit with a pan in the face. They create a plan to try to shame Sakamoto by putting a dirty chalkboard eraser above the door. But when Sakamoto walks in, he catches it like a boss. He says hi to everyone, making all the girls crazy and leaving Atsushi and his friends embarrassed. Next, Sakamoto goes to the bathroom, and the three delinquents follow. They throw water into his stall, thinking they got him wet. But Sakamoto, the king of all chads, is prepared. He comes out with an umbrella, shocking the idiots. They then throw Sakamoto's desk out of the window, hoping he can't sit in class. All the girls go crazy and invite him to sit with them. Sakamoto refuses, opens the window, and sits on the windowsill, making the girls go crazy. Sakamoto tells the teacher to start class, and Atsushi and Mario are frustrated because their plan doesn't work. The pan faces then decide there's only one option: to beat Sakamoto up. Sakamoto is cleaning a desk when a guy comes and tells him that their teacher is asking for his help in the lab to prepare for tomorrow's class. Once Sakamoto reaches the lab, the three smashed-faced delinquents surprise Sakamoto and tie him up. They start talking about hurting him, like using chemicals or making him look silly by sending photos to all the girls. Atsushi even likes the embarrassing photo idea and starts taking pictures. But the guys enjoy destroying their lungs inside the room, and it causes a fire. They can't put it out and they try to leave, but the door was blocked by a fallen broom. Atsushi tries to call for help, but his phone dies. Everyone gets scared, but Sakamoto is there doing some sidestepping moves. Mario thinks he's trying to create a breeze to put out the fire. The three guys copy Sakamoto to help put out the fire. However, the noise reaches the staff room below. A teacher named Kakuta comes up and sees them jumping around the fire. He gets confused but first uses a fire extinguisher to put out the fire. He then asks Sakamoto what kind of voodoo they are doing. Sakamoto explains they were stuck in the lab and the fire accidentally started. So, he decided to make noise to get a teacher's attention. Kakuta asks why they were there, but Sakamoto lies, saying he was teaching them how to use an alcohol lamp. The teacher praises him for being a good friend but asks him to write an apology note. The delinquents are super impressed and decide to accept defeat. Even Mario and Kenken say that Sakamoto stole Atsushi's heart. Atsushi doesn't argue and just admits Sakamoto is cool, and the others agree. The next day, Sakamoto is walking to school with his umbrella alongside a bird. The strong winds make it a bit of a contest between him and the bird to see who can stay ahead. Because of the wild winds, things start flying around. Sakamoto effortlessly dodges an object heading his way, but the bird gets tossed toward a vortex. Sakamoto rushes to the rescue, almost slipping into a river but lands on a rock instead. He then uses his umbrella to fly up and save the bird. And just like that, when he secures the bird, the rain suddenly stops and the bird flies away. He manages to arrive at school in time and notices a guy named Sira boasting to the girls. He says that he's an amateur model for magazines and offers to give the girls lessons about fashion for a week. The girls politely refuse his offer. Suddenly, a girl bursts into the room screaming about the newspaper. Turns out there's a story about the storm, and Sakamoto is on the cover, looking like he's flying while rescuing the bird. This sends his female classmates into a frenzy. Seeing this, Sira gets super angry because Sakamoto always steals the spotlight, and decides to put an end to it. Throughout the day, Sira tries various tricks to outshine Sakamoto. In class, he attempts to remove Sakamoto's chair just as he's about to sit after answering a question. But Sakamoto sits on an imaginary chair. During sports, Sira repeatedly fails to hit Sakamoto with a ball. He then tries to make Sakamoto use a broken water fountain, but it backfires. This only makes Sakamoto look even cooler as the water showers over him. Back in the classroom, Sira is pondering how every attempt to outshine Sakamoto only makes him look more fantastic. He's brainstorming his next move when a huge bee flies in, causing the girls to freak out. Sira sees this as his chance to shine. The girls run outside and lock all the boys inside the class. The boys start to take off their clothes to deal with a bee in the classroom, following the teacher's advice. However, Sakamoto remains calm. When the bee lands on Sakamoto's hair, Sira attempts to swat it, but Sakamoto's quick move redirects the bee to focus on Sira. Sakamoto uses a compass to battle against the bee. It's a tough battle, but Sakamoto uses the compass as chopsticks to catch the bee and release it outside. Sakamoto's unexpected bee handling skills amaze everyone, leaving Sira embarrassed. The next day, Sakamoto climbs a tree to give food to a bird and say hi, but the bird is nowhere to be found. Sakamoto then sees Kubota giving money to some mean bullies. Sakamoto walks up to Kubota and asks what's going on. Kubota says it's none of Sakamoto's business and admits he's paying the bullies to stay safe because he's scared of them. Sakamoto feels bad for Kubota and leaves. Kubota gets mad, saying Sakamoto only came to talk, not to help. Sakamoto says Kubota's money will still help him, but Kubota breaks down. He confesses he's been lying to his mom about needing money for stuff and giving it all to the bullies. Sakamoto comes back and says he has an idea to help. Yes, to get a job at a fast food place to make money. Natsuyama shows up at the fast food place. She's in charge of training the new losers and puts Sakamoto at the cash register because he's good looking. Kubota must clean and whines about it, saying he never wanted to work. He thinks of more excuses to get money from his mom and plans to quit the job. But Matsuyama tells him to work faster, and he grumbles, wondering why he must work to pay off the bullies. Suddenly, the kitchen gets busy, and Kubota peeks outside to see a long line of ladies waiting to buy food. Matsuyama tells Kubota to continue being a loser and start making fries. Kubota claims he doesn't know how, but Matsuyama insists he tries. At first, he messes up, but then he gets the hang of it. When all the orders are done, Matsuyama thinks maybe Sakamoto brought in all the customers. She also praises Kubota for his awesome fry-making skills, making him blush. This makes Kubota more excited to learn how to make other meals, and the boys secure their permanent jobs, making it to payday. Kubota tells Sakamoto he's going to the hair salon with his money, and Sakamoto plans to buy a protractor. The next day, the 30-year-old high school loser students visit the restaurant. Atsushi orders food and then cringely asks Sakamoto for a smile for takeout. Soon after, the bullies who bother Kubota show up. Kubota tries to hide, but they spot him and start making fun of him. Sakamoto steps in, asking about their orders. After ordering, one of the bullies tells Kubota to meet them at a park. So, after work, Sakamoto decides to follow Kubota. Kubota meets the bullies who demand money. Kubota is about to give them his paycheck when he remembers what Sakamoto said about money not always protecting him. Kubota refuses, saying he worked hard for that money. This makes the bullies mad, and they start beating him up. But Kubota holds onto his money, determined to protect it. Suddenly, Sakamoto jumps in to help. First, he uses the wind with no direction technique, blowing into a bully's ear with a straw, causing him to act like a freak. Then he sprays gum syrup into the other bully's eyes. Sakamoto tells Kubota to do something, and bravely, Kubota uses his move caught between buns to hit the bullies. He then grabs some sand and throws it at them, making the bullies run away scared. Kubota tears down and thanks Sakamoto for teaching him to stand up for himself. But Sakamoto ignores him and leaves because he must return to his shift. The next day, Sakamoto deals with Aina, who's trying to get his attention. Aina usually gets attention from boys and jealousy from some of the girls. But Sakamoto couldn't care less about her and focused on the teacher. This upsets Aina because, despite all her charm, Sakamoto is a pure Sigma. Aina wants him to notice her. First, she tries to get close to him and asks for help with studying by sitting close to him. But she can't get close to him, so she sits in front of him instead. She tries being familiar with him and asks for his full name. But Tanaka, one of the girls that doesn't like her, scratches the board, and Aina couldn't hear him. She then tries to copy Sakamoto's moves to be friends, but he's too quick for her. Without options, Aina tries to make him jealous. Aina walks away saying she will go meet other guys. Suddenly, Sakamoto stands up. Aina thinks she succeeded and he's about to stop her, but Sakamoto is looking at a dog on the track field. Upset by failed attempts to get Sakamoto's attention, Aina decides to play the Kakuri-san game similar to an Ouija board. Tanaka and Yagi join to annoy Aina. Sakamoto offers to watch but not play, upsetting Aina further. During the game, the girls ask humorous questions about Aina's intentions, but she skillfully manipulates the coin in her favor. During Aina's turn in the game, she asks who Sakamoto likes. All three girls try to move the coin to spell their names, but they accidentally toss the game coin into the air, and it lands on the floor. The game has a rule that curses them if they let go of the coin. Aina turns to Sakamoto for help, but the coin falls in front of him, and suddenly, he's possessed by the spirit of Kakuri-san. Sakamoto starts acting like a freak, and Aina asks the spirit to leave. The spirit says it will only go if the girls build a 6 feet tall sacred arch within 20 minutes, or else it'll take Sakamoto's body to the mountains. The girls rush to build the arch with tables before time runs out, and they ask Aina to help. She says no, claiming she's never lifted anything heavier than a chair. Yagi scolds her, saying refusing means she's okay with Sakamoto being taken by the Kakure spirit. Tanaka and Yagi stack the tables. One almost falls on Yagi, but Aina saves her, saying she's only helping for Sakamoto's sake. Together, the girls finish stacking the tables to make the arch. Later, the spirit uses the tables to go to the summit. Suddenly, Sakamoto wakes up, confused about how he ended up there. Aina is grateful he's okay, and Yagi and Tanaka realize Aina isn't as bad as they thought. They all walk home together, but then Sakamoto reveals that everything was his plan to help the girls become friends. He uses his secret move, Reset Position, to put everything back in order. Some days later, we find out that Sakamoto became the errand boy of the second-year bullies. Maruyama explains to Hayabusa, the group leader, how Sakamoto is amazing. Sakamoto hears Maruyama's whistle call and launches himself into the classroom with a broom, serving lunches in a cool way that wows the seniors. After that, Sakamoto meets Kubota, who wonders why he's doing errands for Maruyama. Sakamoto says it's supposed to build his character. Kubota tells Sakamoto they're taking advantage of him, treating him like a tool. Yet, Sakamoto believes in respecting his elders, even if it's just a 1-year difference. Kubota doesn't fully agree, but Maruyama's whistle interrupts them, calling Sakamoto. When Sakamoto gets to Maruyama, he asks for a drink. Sakamoto stylishly goes to the vending machine and gets Maruyama's favorite drink. The other seniors want one too, and Sakamoto happily gets it for them. So, Maruyama keeps asking Sakamoto for more stuff. First, he wants to borrow Sakamoto's gym uniform because he forgot his own. But instead, Sakamoto makes him a brand new one, making Maruyama the star on the field. Maruyama asks for more favors: shoe polishing, class attending, massages, beard shaving, and nail cutting. But Hayabusa starts saying he's getting lazy and too dependent on Sakamoto. But Maruyama defends himself, saying it's all part of helping Sakamoto grow up. Later, Maruyama calls Sakamoto again, but this time he's not sure what tasks to give. Maruyama suggests Sakamoto should come up with ways to make his life easier. Sakamoto takes it seriously, providing unexpected assistance such as bringing toilet paper and warming Maruyama's shoes. However, when Sakamoto attempts to help him further by offering to carry him home on a trolley, Maruyama feels overwhelmed and hides, thinking Sakamoto has gone crazy. He hides and calls Hayabusa for help, but Sakamoto finds him. Maruyama gets scared and screams that he doesn't want this much attention. But Sakamoto used his secret move, Sleepover Gym, to make the storage room a comfy place for Maruyama to sleep that night. He offers more services for a better rest, and Maruyama starts begging Sakamoto to stop. Later at the school cafeteria, Maruyama shocks everyone by buying his food. The first-year students who used to run errands for him can't believe their eyes. Meanwhile, Sakamoto is at another table, having lunch with Kubota. Kubota asks how the errands are going, and Sakamoto says he got fired, thinking it's because he's a terrible singer. After class, Sakamoto goes to Kubota's house to help him with a school assignment. Kubota's mother, Shijimi, kindly brings them food and asks if Sakamoto is there. Before she enters, Kubota tells Sakamoto to hide under the bed. When she comes in, she doesn't see Sakamoto and leaves, scolding Kubota to invite Sakamoto over again. Kubota explains that his mother fell in love with Sakamoto 2 weeks ago. Where have we seen this kind of story? Sakamoto had gotten excellent grades in exams, but Kubota failed his. So, Kubota asks Sakamoto to help him with his studies, and Sakamoto agrees. Kubota takes Sakamoto to his house, and when Shijimi sees Sakamoto, she falls for him and starts pursuing him. So, they decide Sakamoto must hide whenever she comes around. Back in the present, Sakamoto is still tutoring Kubota and wants to teach him chemistry. Kubota realizes he forgot his book at school and rushes to get it, giving Sakamoto a cell phone in case of emergency since Sakamoto doesn't have one. Later, Shijimi finds out that Sakamoto is in the house and starts looking everywhere for him. Sakamoto uses his clever hiding skills and chooses the most curious and secret spots in the house. Just when the mom is about to give up, Kubota calls Sakamoto from his cell phone, giving away his hiding place. The woman hurries to find him, but Sakamoto slips away. She follows his footprints outside to the balcony, where Sakamoto tricks Shijimi into thinking he left, using a makeshift rope. Shijimi gives up and watches a movie where the actor resembles Sakamoto. Sakamoto, sensing Shigemi's emotions, comes up with a plan and waits for the movie to end, then reveals himself, prompting another chase. However, Sakamoto had recorded himself earlier. He throws the CD into the player and jumps behind the TV, making her believe he's part of a TV show and can't be touched. Successfully fooling her, he says goodbye and asks her to take care of her son. At that moment, a worried Kubota comes in, sees his mother in tears, and comforts her. Since that day, Sakamoto only helped Kubota in the library. Meanwhile, she continues to long for Sakamoto in her life, living a bittersweet love story. A brand new day begins, and the gym teacher Kakuta is standing by the school gate. He's telling all the kids to hurry inside as the bell is about to ring. Sneakily, when the bell rings, he starts closing the gate super fast. He's trying to trap Sakamoto to make him late to school, as Sakamoto always comes in at the last second. Sakamoto shows up with a bamboo pole, and Kakuta gets worried that he might jump over the gate with the pole. Kakuta tries to stop him, but Sakamoto tricks the teacher by abandoning the pole and slips through the slightly open gate without being late. Like a true Chad, Sakamoto even says he decorated the entrance with bamboo because it looked too boring. Kakuta is angry and stressed by Sakamoto's last-minute appearances and decides to keep an eye on him for rule violations. He spots Sakamoto with some mischievous kids and anticipates trouble, but they're just playing with bubbles. Kakuta then catches Sakamoto seemingly goofing off with brooms, but a classmate reveals he's creatively cleaning ceiling dust. Kakuta then randomly decides to scold Sakamoto during his next class. Kakuta starts teaching about personal education, but he's super nervous because everyone is behaving well. Sakamoto, though, is cooking up some grub during this class, making it seem like it's just for fun. Kakuta is waiting for the right time for Sakamoto to taste the food so he can finally give him a talking to. When Sakamoto takes a bite of rice, Kakuta jumps in to scold him and sends him out to the hallway to think about it. But Sakamoto grabs a bit of rice before he leaves. Even though Kakuta is feeling good about it, he wants to make sure Sakamoto is thinking about his behavior. When he checks outside, he sees Sakamoto feeding a sick sparrow with the rice. Turns out, Sakamoto made himself look like a troublemaker just so he could help the bird. Kakuta goes back to the class, all teary-eyed because Sakamoto let himself get in trouble just to feed a poor little bird. The next day, Kakuta is at the gate again, and Sakamoto shows up at the very last second before the door shuts as usual. Kakuta decides to wait, but Sakamoto does this crazy slide thing under him instead of just walking in. This ticks off Kakuta, and he shouts at Sakamoto to stop sliding and get to class. Next up is art class, and the teacher wants the students to pair up and draw each other's faces. All the girls really want to be Sakamoto's partner, but Aina gets there first and asks him. He says yes, and all the girls gather around to draw Sakamoto anyways. Aina is sitting right in front of him, feeling super happy because she thinks Sakamoto sees her as beautiful and wonders how he will draw her. Sakamoto tells her he's done, but when she sees the drawing, she's kinda sad. She thinks he sees her as a wild orangutan. Poor Aina, but guess what? She looked at the drawing the wrong way. Her friends show her that Sakamoto drew her as an angel. Now, Aina is super happy, hugging the drawing tight. All the girls want Sakamoto to draw them too, and he's totally cool with it. In the next part, a fire alarm goes off, and there's a report of a fire in the chemistry class. Sakamoto, with his trusty whistle, guides his classmates to get out of the building. In the schoolyard, they count heads and realize that Sashi is missing, probably stuck in the bathroom. Sakamoto rushes to rescue him, getting himself all wet and tying a handkerchief on his face before heading to the bathroom. When Atsushi finally comes out, he sees Sakamoto crawling on the ground and gets confused. Sakamoto tells him to get down too and not worry. Then, Sakamoto goes on to save Atsushi by lowering him with a rope from the window. Everybody's worried about Sakamoto still inside. But surprise, he's about to jump out the window using his secret move, Fire Scene Zero Gravity, which is just a parachute thing he made up. Everyone is relieved that Sakamoto is safe, and even Kakuta, with teary eyes, scolds him for making everyone worry. Now, there's a change of scene to the schoolyard during summer vacation. Wario, Atsushi, and Kenken set a trap on the ground. But here comes Sakamoto with some weird stuff in his hands, and still wearing his school uniform. The boys are shocked, thinking he won't fall for the trap. But wait, Sakamoto falls into it. When they check, though, he's not in the hole. Later they ask Kabuta if he's seen Sakamoto after 3 days of searching, but he says no. Atsushi gets all detective-like and scolds Kabuta to care about finding Sakamoto. Kabuta just thinks Sakamoto is playing around out of boredom. Atsushi takes this as a challenge and decides to find Sakamoto. They try following his footsteps, but Kenken says it'll take too long. So, Kenken suggests asking people if they've seen a boy in a school uniform because Sakamoto is the only one still wearing it during summer break. The first person they ask is a man who says he saw Sakamoto about 4 days ago, sliding up the stairs of the pedestrian bridge like it was an escalator. Then, in a supermarket, a lady tells them she saw him 5 days ago in the food section, trying out all the free samples as if it was a big buffet party. Another person mentions seeing him throwing rocks to make a circle in the lake, and a girl saw him adjusting the balance of the seesaw. 2 more ladies say they've seen him around, but the boys still can't find him. As evening falls, they feel sad, smoking cigarettes, thinking Sakamoto might not be in the city anymore. But then, a kid playing in the park falls into their trap and tells his mom about a hole inside. The boys check it out and find a bigger hole they didn't dig, with Sakamoto's button beside it. They wonder where it leads, and Atsushi accidentally drops the button into the deep hole, and after not hearing it hit the bottom, Atsushi decides the hole goes to Brazil, where Sakamoto is on vacation. He jumps in to find him, even though his friends try to stop him. Meanwhile, Sakamoto is at the dry cleaner picking up his uniform. Turns out, he wasn't wearing the uniform the whole time but a white collar shirt. He's been going around doing 1 or 2 things. He puts on his clean uniform and leaves as he still has one more thing to do. It's already dark, and Mario and Kenken are telling Atsushi to come out from the hole. Turns out the hole isn't as deep as Atsuhi claimed because Atsushi can stand up in it. Then, Sakamoto appears, asking about the progress on the hot spring, saying he helped dug the hole for it, thinking that's what the hole was for. All Atsushi can do is scream out Sakamoto's name in frustration and relief. In the middle of a softball game, Sakamoto gears up to pitch. His girl classmates surround him, all excited and cheering. From a distance, Kubota is chilling, thinking the ball won't even come close to him. But guess what? Sakamoto throws the ball so fast and hard that it smacks Kubota right in the face. It's like, whoa. Kubota goes flying into the field nets, faints, and starts bleeding from his nose. But don't worry, Sakamoto catches him before he hits the ground. And get this, Sakamoto does this weird pose to make sure Kubota's head is higher than his heart to stop any issues. But the nosebleed won't quit. Sakamoto tears a piece of his shirt to try to stop it and makes a makeshift bandage. The girls in the group get all excited because he ripped his shirt. It's like a mini drama. In the next part, 2 older students, Hayabusa and Marayama, with their errand boys, stroll through the school halls. The errand boys, a couple of first years, think Hayabusa is super cool, with his awesome hairstyle and all. They see all the girls gathered and think a celebrity showed up. But nope, the girls are waiting for Sakamoto, treating him like a rock star, asking for his autograph on their tracksuits. Hayabusa wonders if Sakamoto was the former errand boy for Marayama. When he looks, he sees Marayama is all messed up from his experience with Sakamoto, even throwing up. Hayabusa asks what happened, but Marayama just keeps saying Sakamoto is dangerous. Hayabusa is confused, and the other errand boys try to explain. But Marayama stops them, warning them not to talk about Sakamoto, and saying they'll regret it if they get close. So, Hayabusa decides to figure out why everyone thinks Sakamoto is a big deal. Later in class 1-2, Sakamoto is hanging out with Kubota, who wants advice on his hairstyle. Sakamoto suggests one, but Kubota wants something bolder. Then, Sira jumps in with a joke and suggests a buzz cut for Kubota. Suddenly, the whole class gets quiet when Hayabusa dramatically opens the door and heads towards Sakamoto's seat. He sarcastically asks to borrow Sakamoto's face. Misunderstanding the joke, Sakamoto makes a mold of his face and hands it to Hayabusa, asking for it back by tomorrow. Hayabusa is shocked, trying to clarify that he never asked for a face mold and just wanted to talk. With the Sakamoto face mold in hand, all the girls swarm Hayabusa, wanting it for themselves. It turns into a big battle between the girls and Hayabusa. Hayabusa wonders if the face mold is Sakamoto's signal to the class to attack him, and if Sakamoto is already in charge since he's just sitting there chill while chaos breaks out. Eventually, Hayabusa destroys the face mold and tells Sakamoto to meet him at the riverbank after school. Everyone in the class gets scared, and Kabuta asks Sakamoto what he's going to do. Sakamoto says he has cleaning duty after school, so he can't go. Hayabusa's errand runners hear this and decide to give Sakamoto reasons to attend the fight with their boss. Throughout the day, they try to bug Sakamoto, like taking his shoes when he goes into the bathroom. When Sakamoto comes out, he gets a message saying Hayabusa did it and he should come to the riverbank for the shoes. But Sakamoto isn't bothered, he just slides around with his socks. Next, they take his trusty ruler when he wants to help the girls hang a poster, but even that doesn't get Sakamoto annoyed. He improvises by using Kakuta's perfectly square hair. It seems like nothing can make Sakamoto mad, so they decide to do something more serious, mess with Kubota. The errand runners grab Kubota, cut off all his hair, and leave a message for Sakamoto. When Sakamoto finds Kubota, Kabuto tries to act like it's okay, but eventually breaks down in tears because being bald hurts. There's a message for Sakamoto, and this time, he's deeply affected. After making a wig for Kubota with a trash bag, Sakamoto decides to go and help fix things. Finally, at the riverside, Sakamoto meets Hayabusa ready to fight. Just as he's about to punch Sakamoto, a police officer stops them, warning that fights are a crime and they could end up in jail. Sakamoto tries to trick the officer, saying it's a joke and they're playing a balance game called pushing sumo. The officer believes him and decides to watch, saying he once played similar game when he was young. Hayabusa wants to blow it off, but he sees the determination in Sakamoto's eyes and decides to take it seriously. The big showdown begins, and Sakamoto gets ready. When Hayabusa charges at him, Sakamoto does this tricky move by pulling his hands back, making Hayabusa almost stumble. Hayabusa decides to get serious and uses his boxing style to attack. They go at it, slapping each other's hands to push the other, but neither gains an advantage. It starts to rain, but they keep on fighting, and Hayabusa is getting tired. Even when a car splashes water on him, he refuses to budge. His errand runners try to cheat for him, but Hayabusa scolds them and says he wants to win fair and square. Finally, Sakamoto decides to end the fight with his secret move, the standing attention. He stands in a way that makes everyone think he's going to summon lightning. They keep fighting with Sakamoto's hands in the air like an antenna. The errand runners get worried and confess to Sakamoto that they took his stuff. This distracts Hayabusa, and Sakamoto lightly pushes him into a taxi, winning the game. Turns out, Sakamoto wasn't calling lightning. He just wanted to hail a taxi to take Hayabusa home so he doesn't catch a cold after their fight. Hayabusa accepts his defeat, and they all get in the taxi together. The policeman leaves, happy the town is at peace. Inside the taxi, the errand runners apologize to Hayabusa, and he apologizes to Sakamoto. Sakamoto says he'll only accept their apology if they follow him to buy dinner ingredients. In the end, Hayabusa and his boys go to Kubota's house to apologize and bring lots of kelp for his hair. Kubota suggests a kelp party since he can't eat it all alone. As they eat, Yoshinobu notices Sakamoto sitting at the window outside, understanding why. The next day at school, Sakamoto collects health reports from everyone in class 1-2 and takes them to the infirmary. The nurse sees that Sakamoto has a high fever and suggests rest, but he refuses. Instead, he crafts a cool green onions tie to take care of the cold, exciting all the girls with his coolness once again. On a sunny day at school, kids play a stone kicking game with the risk of losing if the stone falls or gets lost. They encounter Sakamoto, who impressively maneuvers the game. The boys, initially frustrated, aspire to reach Sakamoto's skill level in high school. The next day, they imitate Sakamoto's actions, walking along a white line through the city. Sakamoto showcases unique skills, and the boys encounter a man whom Sakamoto effortlessly leaps over. They follow Sakamoto's lead, walking around the city until they reach the end of the line. Sakamoto gifts the leader a roll of white paper, revealing a new path when unraveled. As night falls, the boys reach the final meeting point, a local supermarket, where Sakamoto reveals a buffet party. The leader rushes home upon seeing his mom, but not before asking Sakamoto for an autograph. Now, we meet Megumi Fujita, the class 1-2 representative. She loves spending her time taking secret pictures of Sakamoto, as she believes they're from different worlds. Megumi is in deep love, and just having pictures of him is enough. But something strange is happening. When she looks at the photos, she sees a ghostly woman in the background of every picture, and it bothers her all day. Megumi decides to tell Sakamoto before something bad happens. After class, she goes to talk to him but gets scared. If she tells Sakamoto about the ghost, she also must show him the photos she's been taking. Megumi takes a long time to decide. Scared Sakamoto might hate her if he finds out. She remains mute and Sakamoto leaves out of urgency for something he needs to do. Suddenly, she sees a wheeled mop bucket heading towards him. Before she can warn him, Sakamoto jumps onto it and uses it to move around. Megumi thinks a poltergeist is after him, and she needs to warn him. She tries to ask Sakamoto about strange things happening, but he doesn't know. He just says Kubota's hair is growing fast. Megumi thinks he hasn't noticed the ghost and wonders how to tell him. Then, the sound of dripping water distracts Sakamoto. He goes to fix it and finds hair clogging the tap, scaring Megumi. Sakamoto clears the hair and rushes out. Megumi follows him to see what he's going to do with the hair. She finds him using it to make extensions for Kubota. The hair swings around, but Sakamoto dodges it, thinking Kubota is moving. Megumi realizes Sakamoto doesn't see the danger right in front of him. Megumi decides to talk to Kubota, who confirms that weird things are happening around Sakamoto. Her idea of a spirit following him could be the reason. Kubota suggests that Megumi explain her situation and show Sakamoto the photos, as the camera captures moments he might not notice. Though hesitant, Megumi contemplates Kubota's advice. While contemplating, Megumi captures a moment of Sakamoto playing a game with classmates on her camera. However, her hopes are dashed when Aina appears, offering a dessert to Sakamoto. Unable to intervene, Megumi realizes the truth in Kubota's suggestion that she and the ghostly figures may have something in common, symbolizing her unnoticed presence in Sakamoto's world. This proves Kubota's point. Reviewing the photos, Megumi discovers that the spirit's mouth changes, like it's trying to tell Sakamoto something. In a rush, she prints the photos to show him. She finds him and tells him about the ghost, flipping through the pictures like a flip book, saying it seems the ghost is saying, "I like you." However, Megumi suddenly realizes it might look like she's confessing her affection in a creepy way. She tries to explain that she's not weird and the ghost just wants to talk to him. Sakamoto listens but only asks for help with photocopies. Megumi starts shedding tears, thinking Sakamoto must hate her now. To her surprise, as she enters the photocopying room, Sakamoto responds with multiple copies of his face, thanking her the same way he thought she did. A light breeze blows, carrying the paper away, and this turns out to be a message from the spirit. After this, the spirit stops appearing in Megumi's photos. Now, she can directly photograph Sakamoto without having to hide. Atsushi and his buddies are trying to get into the grown-up movie section at the rental store. They're super pumped to see what's in there, but so far, they haven't made it inside. On the other side of the store, Sakamoto is in a bit of a pickle. Aina and her friends corner him, asking if he's there for a school assignment to rent and write about their favorite movie. Sakamoto says yes and mentions he's looking for My Summer with Chirpsuk. The girls want to watch it together, but Sakamoto says no and heads off to find his own movie. The problem is, Atsushi has taken the movie Sakamoto wants, and he's offering a trade. Atsushi needs Sakamoto to get a disc from the 18+ section at the back of the store. Sakamoto agrees and coolly prepares for the task. First, he must sneak into the adult section without anyone seeing him. He creates a breeze by walking around the shelves, lifting the curtain for a split second, and elegantly slipping in. While Sakamoto is in there, his friends start worrying that he won't come out. But soon enough, he waltzes out like it's no big deal. Now comes the tricky part, the exit. Mario fills him in on the details, telling Sakamoto to avoid 3 girls from their class in different sections of the store. As Sakamoto executes the plan, he dodges Tanaka in the CD section, glides past Yagi in Western films, and sneaks through the science fiction section. Just when he's about to reach the checkout, he spots Kubota's mom and changes course, making Atsushi, Mario, and Kenken freak out. Aina spots him again and calls out to him loudly, drawing the other 2 girls' attention. Now, Aina, Yagi, and Tanaka are onto him. They ask about the movies he's holding, so Sakamoto cleverly starts acting like a robot to distract them. The girls are amazed by his robot act and forget about the DVDs, inviting him to check out an album with them. While their backs are turned, Sakamoto grabs the DVD and hides near the checkout. The guys are thrilled as Sakamoto looks like he's going to make it. But then, when it's his turn at the register, the boss replaces the newbie and takes over, then starts asking tricky questions to expose Sakamoto. Sakamoto stays calm and adds more movies to the rental, confusing the boss. The boss demands Sakamoto's store ID and bombards him with questions, but Sakamoto keeps a straight face. At one point, Sakamoto reveals a wristwatch he drew on his wrist, which the boss saw as an expensive wristwatch. Sakamoto claims he has a client to attend to. This confuses the boss, who can't decide if Sakamoto is a student or a worker. In the end, the boss lets Sakamoto rent the film. The guys are over the moon. Later, Sakamoto and Atsushi swap their movies, and Atsushi invites Sakamoto to watch the adult movie at his place. But Sakamoto refuses and says the day is already late. His refusal makes the boys rethink their plan, and they decide to return all the movies. Now, back at school, the Gakuin preparatory sports event is happening. The boys in class are confident they'll win, relying on Sakamoto's skills. However, Sira interrupts their confidence, pointing out that these events are a chance to impress girls from other classes and higher grades. He questions whether they want to always live in Sakamoto's shadow. The boys admit they can't individually beat Sakamoto in any sport. Sira suggests a plan: join forces to make Sakamoto lose and call it the class revolution. The first event is a bread eating race, and the boys try to mess with Sakamoto's bread. They tie it tight so he can't easily grab it with his mouth. The race begins, and Sakamoto is in the lead, but he gets stuck trying to bring the bread down. To everyone's surprise, he uses the death roll, a move their teacher claims to have seen a crocodile do in the Amazon. Sakamoto loses the bread and gains an advantage and is already heading back to the finish line. However, he sees the other contestants struggling, so he goes back to help. Sakamoto shares half his bread, impressing everyone, even the Mons who wish he was their son-in-law. Watching this, Sira is not happy. Now, it's time for the boys' group gymnastics, and Sira is determined to mess up Sakamoto's performance. The boys perform an acrobatic routine where Sakamoto has to climb to the top while the other guys form the steps, but they plan to try to throw off his balance. To everyone's surprise, Sakamoto stays perfectly balanced. They end up forming a human tower that looks like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, capturing the girls' attention and exciting them, much to Sira's dismay. Next up is the relay race. When the baton reaches Sakamoto, he starts running but suddenly falls because Sira deliberately tied his shoelaces together. Sakamoto quickly adjusts his running stance, sprints like a cheetah, and takes the lead with the baton in his mouth. However, when he hands the baton to his teammate Yagi, it slips due to Sakamoto's drool, causing them to fall behind. All the classmates starts talking bad about her. Yagi feels responsible and keeps running despite the setback. Sira decides to give up on the race, but when he sees Yagi crying and determined, managing to catch up and hands the baton to Sira. In an effort to take the blame off Yagi, Sira ends up showing his tummy to everyone as he runs slowly, laughing. During lunch break, Yagi apologizes to the girls for dropping the baton, but they don't blame her. Instead, they criticize Sira for stripping on the track and call him an embarrassment to class. Sira sits alone under a tree eating lunch, facing insults for his actions. He asks Sakamoto, who is above the tree, if he's there to insult him too. Surprisingly, Sakamoto says he's a hero before leaving. As Yagi walks past Sira, she stops to say he's cooler than she imagined, lifting his spirits. During Gakuban festival preparations, second-year students gather on a staircase. Hayabusa impresses everyone by creating a cotton candy machine from scrap metal, producing the fluffiest cotton candy. Maruyama questions their food stall, but Hayabusa encourages embracing uniqueness. Atsushi asks Hayabusa if he can invite Sakamoto to the cotton candy stall, but Maruyama disagrees. Hayabusa says yes because he wants the freedom to choose his friends, including being interested in Sakamoto. Out of nowhere, another student named Fukase appears, presses Hayabusa's head against the cotton machine aggressively, and asks about Sakamoto's identity and class. Despite the pressure, Hayabusa stays silent, and Fukase ends up injuring Hayabusa nose. Next, we see the students from class just hanging out in the classroom, doing various activities. Megumi interrupts, saying they need to do their best for the upcoming Gakuban festival. Their class is doing an encounter with the unknown exhibition with alien-shaped balloons. Two boys, Morita and Yasuda, resist, complaining that nobody will care about their displays because everyone will be focused on the displays from other classes and the third years. Megumi encourages them to give their best, and they might attract more visitors. However, the uncooperative boys start to mock and destroy their work. Sakamoto jumps in and covers the balloon statue with a curtain, making a shadow that looks like a yeti from the balloons. This gets everyone excited to keep going, but they realize they don't have enough balloons because most of them floated to the ceiling with helium. Megumi suggests using the ones on the ground, and the girls start picking them up, but the boys are just being lazy. Sakamoto comes to the rescue again. He uses a broom to turn the balloons on the ceiling into mysterious circles. Megumi suggests making UFOs using the classroom lamps and balloons. Morita and Yasuda start making fun of the UFO idea again and even laugh at Sakamoto when he puts a balloon on his head like a hat. But Sakamoto uses his smarts to rub the balloon on his hair, creating a fancy UFO that looks like it's abducting him as his hair floats up. While everyone else is busy getting ready, Morita and Yasuda, who haven't been doing anything, decide to leave the room. Mai-chan scolds them for being useless, and they leave feeling angry and sad, going outside to reflect. Later, Fukase comes to them and says they didn't do anything wrong, and what's wrong is forcing others to do things they don't want to do. The next day, Megumi and Mai-chan go to the classroom early to keep working, thinking they're almost finished. But when they arrive, they find that all the balloons have been popped. This makes the girls sad, and another girl runs to show them a poster with Sakamoto's face on it. It turns out that posters with Sakamoto's face are all over the school notice board, offering a reward for his capture. Everyone is puzzled, thinking it might be a prank, until Fukase steps forward and explains it's part of a festival game. Sakamoto, however, doesn't realize he's the one in the poster until later. When he figures it out, he starts running super fast, and everyone joins in the chase. In class, the girls don't believe the boys who say Sakamoto wrecked everything. They think someone set him up. The boys aren't sure if Sakamoto is responsible, but he's the only one not in their class now. Another girl wants to point out that Morita and Yasuda aren't there, but they walk in feeling sorry for their behavior the day before and bring snacks. They also mention that they heard about the balloon situation and bring more to rebuild the exhibit. This motivates everyone, and they get ready to set up everything they did before noon. Meanwhile, Sakamoto, pursued by those chasing him, hides in a stage play of Class 3-1, pretending to be a tree. Fukase, watching the play, directs the students to check the forest on the stage. Hayabusa and his group arrive, saving Sakamoto and guiding him to the north building landing. The second-year students worry about facing consequences for saving Sakamoto, but Hayabusa is ready to face the risks. Finally reaching the location Hayabusa mentioned, Sakamoto is confused about what's happening. Hayabusa explains who Fukase is, a third year with a reputation for failing, rumored to be over 30 years old with 2 divorces, irregular attendance, and a knack for organizing games. These games involve making popular students disappear to take away the love and respect others have for them, all for his own amusement. Hayabusa advises Sakamoto to return to his class quickly. Upon returning, Sakamoto finds his classmates working on the exhibit. Megumi tries to question him about his lateness, but Morita and Yasuda interrupt, insisting he shouldn't feel guilty and encouraging him to join the work group. Without saying a word, Sakamoto leaves. Morita and Yasuda pretend to be sad, happy that their plan worked. The whole class is interrupted by a voice behind the door, claiming to be the one who destroyed the balloons and asking to be called a Ko for privacy. She confesses to destroying the finished exhibit on a whim. Megumi is relieved because it means Sakamoto wasn't responsible. However, Morita interrupts, shouting that conclusions can't be drawn hastily and they can't trust a Ko. A Ko insists she's the one who destroyed the finished display. Morita then states she lied about the exhibit being finished, alerting all the classmates. Mai-chan questions how he knows it wasn't finished since they both left before seeing the prepared exhibit. Angry that things are going downhill, Morita runs to reveal the identity of the girl behind the door. To everyone's surprise, they discover it's Sakamoto, who used helium in his voice to expose the lie. Mai-chan begins questioning them to confess. Morita grabs the Yeti balloon, ready to pop it and confess that they destroyed the balloons, threatening to do it again. They justify their actions, saying that despite all the work they did, not a single person came to see the exhibit, considering it a failure. Sakamoto intervenes with a balloon gun, demanding they release the Yeti hostage or he will shoot. They mock him, saying he can't shoot a balloon gun, but they get scared when Sakamoto manages to pop a balloon, claiming he missed his aim and won't miss again. They claim it's a fluke, but he pops 2 more balloons, making them scared. About to pop more, Morita jumps to cover the display. That's when Sakamoto smiles and reveals there's no real harm. Kubota is the one popping the balloons. The sunlight has been bouncing off Kubota's mirror and popping the balloons, creating a humorous twist to the situation. Finally, the boys apologize and confess that they destroyed the balloons because they felt left out and jealous of the fun everyone was having while working together. They were misled by Fukase's words, including the creation of Sakamoto's wanted posters. They decide to join and work together to finish the exhibition display. However, they've run out of balloons and helium. Following Sakamoto's idea, they get creative and use Hayabusa's cotton candy to create a special presentation that attracts a lot of people to their exhibit. At Gabukun High School, the cold weather kept the courtyard empty during lunchtime. 3 girls decide to have lunch there, enjoying the quiet and the nice view. In the background, Sakamoto and Kubota are dealing with their lunch, trying not to burn themselves. Sakamoto is even juggling his food. Megumi watches them and remembers how she met Sakamoto, telling her story. It happened in February last year during the entrance exams. Megumi's hand was shaking from the cold and nerves. She accidentally dropped her eraser during the exam, and Sakamoto tried to help, almost touching her hand while trying to catch it. But he caught it before it fell, warmed it up with friction, and gave it back, which warmed her hands, allowing her to write her exam. Since then, Megumi keeps that eraser as a good luck charm. Then Mai-chan shares her story. On the rainy entrance ceremony day, everyone had trouble getting to school. Mai-chan's favorite umbrella broke, and she felt sorry for Sakamoto, whose umbrella turned inside out too. But then, Sakamoto surprised her by expertly collecting rainwater with the flipped umbrella. He made the rainy day feel like a celebration. And now rainy days are delightful for Mai-chan. Finally, Kana tells her story. The day before the entrance ceremony, she went to get her books in the cafeteria but forgot her bag. Carrying all her books, she bumped into Sakamoto and tripped. Miraculously, Sakamoto held her books like a princess, and none of them got scratched. Since then, Kana feels like she should take better care of her things. For the girls, these moments with Sakamoto become special memories, each thinking their encounter is the best. Later, Kubota and Sakamoto walk past them, and Kubota reminds Sakamoto of the day they met. At first, Sakamoto doesn't remember, but Kubota helps him recall. On that day, Kubota had a weird wart on his hand, and he was trying to hide it with a band-aid. The band-aid came loose, and Sakamoto picked it up, putting it back on his finger like an impromptu ring. Even so, Sakamoto doesn't remember this, so he says sorry. The girls, after hearing the stories, decide that Kubota's encounter was the most romantic. In class, Sakamoto reads aloud, captivating the class, while Kubota is entranced by Sakamoto's presence. When it's Kubota's turn to read, he's lost in thought, and the teacher playfully suggests he might be looking at someone he likes, causing laughter. Kubota reads, while recalling Kobayashi informing his mother, Shijimi, about his academic success due to Sakamoto's influence. The next day, Kubota falls ill, and his mother tells him to rest while she informs the school about him. However, Shijimi attends school in his place, posing as her son to be close to Sakamoto. In the cooking class, Sakamoto impresses everyone, and Kubota surprises everyone by excelling in making miso soup, mentioning he learned from his mother. As Sakamoto tastes the dish, he compliments its deep flavor. He offers a taste to Kubota. Shijimi struggles to contain her excitement. However, just as she's about to taste the miso from where Sakamoto has brought his lips, Aina steals the plate, and all the girls fight to have an indirect kiss with Sakamoto. Shijimi gives Aina a hateful look but remembers she has to act as her son and control her rage. In the next scene, they need to change for physical education and find themselves in the locker room. Shijimi tries to resist the temptation to sneak a peek at Sakamoto's abs, but ultimately decides to run away to keep her composure. The PE class begins, and they have to run around the track. Kakuta gets angry seeing Sakamoto showing off by running in the style of Darwin's evolutionary theory. Due to his great speed, Kakuta can't reprimand him. However, he suddenly sees Kubota, i.e. Shijimi, running alongside Sakamoto, surprising him greatly. Shijimi, longing to touch him, tries catching up but ends up falling, shattering her shell necklace. Sakamoto goes back and offers his hand to help her, but she refuses and leaves. Sakamoto overhears a comment from his classmates about Kubota's strange behavior that day. He also notices the broken shell, raising suspicions. In the classroom, Shijimi realizes Sakamoto sees her as her son, regretting missing a chance to connect with him. Morita and Yasuda's discussion about classmates' physiques alarms her. When they decide to test Kubota's chest, Shijimi is about to giving seeing no way out when Sakamoto cleverly distracts them, saving Shijimi. Overwhelmed by memories, Shijimi accepts her role as a mother and decides to go home to care for her son. It's Christmas time, and two guys were supposed to go on a fun friend date, but their friend didn't show up. Now, they need someone else to join them. In the distance, they see Sakamoto, who is checking how many people are in the area. The two guys go up to him and ask if he wants to come with them for a Christmas hangout. Sakamoto doesn't know what a friend date is, so they explain that it's when a bunch of people get together to talk and share things. They say it'll help him understand how people interact. Sakamoto says yes, and they all go to a karaoke place. At the table, the girls suggest they introduce themselves. The girls take turns introducing themselves. First, there's Miki, a college student, then there's her friends, Yuka and Yui. After that, the two boys introduce themselves, Ryo, a college student, and Kuhei, who is Ryu's buddy. Finally, Sakamoto introduces himself too. The girls are curious why he's wearing a school uniform, and Kuhei explains that Sakamoto likes to cosplay. Yuka and Yui express their romantic interests in Kuhei and Ryu, respectively. But surprisingly, none of the girls seem interested in Sakamoto. The boys discuss their dreams, with Ryu aspiring to own a bar and Kuhei set to take over his father's dental clinic. When the girls inquire about Sakamoto's dreams, he shares his ambition to work for NASA and find a new home for humanity due to Earth's uncertain future, capturing the girls' interest, and making the boys nervous. To change the mood, Ryu suggests a loser pays a penalty game using a hippo toy to reveal whether someone is M or S. Sakamoto, initially confused, loses the game, but he skillfully manipulates the hippo's mouth with soft touches, leaving the girls intrigued and speculating about his gentle nature. Concerned about Sakamoto stealing the spotlight, Ryu attempts to showcase his singing skills during karaoke. Kuhei tries to disrupt Ryu, but Sakamoto surprises everyone by imitating a saxophone sound with his arm, further capturing the girls' attention. The girls want to sing now, but Sakamoto steals the spotlight by instantly finding the song they want. Feeling left out, Kuhei and Ryu team up against Sakamoto. They order drinks for everyone, including Sakamoto, whom they ordered 100% cola for. After tricking Sakamoto into drinking a glass of cola, they ask him to sing. Sakamoto agrees and surprises everyone by singing an opera song in German. The guys are thrilled, thinking Sakamoto picked a bad song since they believe girls don't like classical tunes. They're also eagerly waiting for Sakamoto to burp. But even though the girls don't understand the language, they're enchanted by Sakamoto's beautiful singing voice. Suddenly, a bunch of girls show up at the door, drawn in by his singing. Ryu and Kuhei are still waiting for the burp, which finally comes, but Sakamoto cleverly hides it while singing flawlessly in German, impressing everyone. This brings even more girls into the karaoke place, all wanting to be with Sakamoto. Sakamoto notices that there are now too many people, breaking the crowd rules, so he decides to leave, thanking everyone. In the end, Kuhei and Ryu are by themselves in the karaoke bar as the girls follow Sakamoto. Later, we find Hayabusa at home dealing with his siblings, trying to fill the gap left by their absent mother. His father, feeling the need for a motherly figure, invites Hayabusa to a French dinner that evening to introduce someone who could become their new mother. Although Hayabusa isn't entirely comfortable with the idea, he agrees for the sake of his siblings. His father, wanting Hayabusa to act like a wealthy heir, Hayabusa seeks help from Sakamoto to teach him etiquette. Sakamoto explains that elegance takes time to learn but is willing to assist. He gives Hayabusa the task of finding a new jacket, size XL. Sakamoto comes up with a plan. He'll hide behind Hayabusa, acting as his hands for food prep, and Hayabusa only needs to chew what Sakamoto puts in his mouth. During dinner, the partner questions Hayabusa's strong appearance, thinking it's from martial arts. To salvage the situation, Sakamoto creates art with a napkin, and Hayabusa mentions that he fights for peace. The father, in a tight spot, says his son's strength comes from making offerings at the Peace Monument. The waiter brings snails, which Hayabusa dislikes. Despite trying for his siblings, he can't eat them. Sakamoto turns it into a challenge, making the snails seem like they're challenging Hayabusa. Encouraged, Hayabusa fights back and eats them. During dessert, the chef asks how was the meal and his father partner asks him to reply in French, and Hayabusa, unsure, tries various words. Sakamoto writes excellent on his plate, saving the situation. After leaving the restaurant, Hayabusa says goodbye to his father as the woman invites him for a private conversation. On the way home, Hayabusa talks to Sakamoto about the woman potentially becoming their mother and acknowledges he has much to learn. However, they get lost since they are not in their usual territory. As they continue walking, Hayabusa comes across some thugs who intend harm to his father and his partner. Sakamoto advises him that if he gets involved, the woman will know he's a thug, revealing their earlier deception. To maintain their cover, Hayabusa suggests switching roles, with Sakamoto becoming the face of the confrontation, while Hayabusa handles the physical part as the hidden hands. Sakamoto confronts the thugs, and in an instant, Hayabusa's hands swiftly defeat all of them. However, when the father runs and hides behind Sakamoto, he confesses that the woman is an extortionist, and the entire dinner was a ploy orchestrated by his elder son to help him and his younger siblings. One thug tries to attack Sakamoto from behind with a pole, but Hayabusa blocks it with his arm, injuring himself. As it starts snowing, Sakamoto begins telling a story about a boy who loved his family so much that he tried French cuisine, mutating because he lacked antibodies. They manage to trick everyone into believing Hayabusa's body has mutated, now having 4 arms. This terrifies the thugs, making them flee. In the chaos, Hayabusa's father faints. In the end, Hayabusa must carry his father on his back all the way home, reflecting on the unexpected turn of events. In the big city, something super special is happening. It's the first time it's snowed in years. Sakamoto and Kubota are on their way to school. Kubota is grumbling about how chilly it is, but Sakamoto is just in his regular school clothes. He tells Kubota that he's never seen snow on the ground before, surprising his friend. Kubota thinks he doesn't know much about Sakamoto yet but believes he'll find out everything soon. Atsushi, one of their pals, makes an awesome snow rabbit. Mario and Kenken are amazed. Sakamoto joins them, and Atsushi says he knows it's Sakamoto's first time seeing snow. He offers to teach Sakamoto how to play in the snow. Sakamoto is grateful and pays close attention. Atsushi says the first thing to do is leave your shape in the snow just for anyone passing by to see. Sakamoto wonders why, and Atsushi says there's no special reason. Then, it's Sakamoto's turn, and instead of just falling anywhere, he lands on Atsushi's snow shape. The two shapes together make Mario think he's seen it before, like a drawing by Leonardo DiCaprio or a symbol for metabolism in medicine books. Sakamoto agrees, saying it looks like a human diagram found in medicine books. Later, Atsushi shows Sakamoto how to make a snowman. Sakamoto notices it's a bit wobbly and decides to add more snowballs, even though Atsushi says not to. The new snowman ends up being tall with 9 balls. Kenken and Mario love it and ask Sakamoto for tips. Atsushi gets upset because he feels Sakamoto is doing way better than he taught, and he can't measure up. Out of nowhere, Fukase shows up, cheering on Atsushi to challenge Sakamoto to a snowball fight. Fukase thinks Atsushi needs to propose this challenge if he wants Sakamoto to notice him. Atsushi takes the advice and challenges Sakamoto to a snowball duel, with one simple rule. Whoever gets hit by a snowball is the loser. Sakamoto agrees, and the duel begins. Atsushi is pretty sure he's going to win, but he can't manage to hit Sakamoto even once. Sakamoto dodges all of Atsushi's snowballs, and when Sakamoto fights back, it's crazy fast, like a machine gun. Atsushi ends up hiding and can't throw any snowballs himself. He decides to wait for Sakamoto to run out of snowballs, but the cold is bothering him a lot, while Sakamoto seems totally fine. Sakamoto wraps something in the snow and tosses it toward Atsushi. Atsushi thinks it's a bomb, so he tries a surprise attack, but he gets hit by Sakamoto's snowball instead. Atsushi loses the game, but he feels warm. Turns out, Sakamoto put hand warmers inside the snowballs, and even the snowball Sakamoto rolled to him had a hand warmer. Sakamoto had hand warmers inside his jacket, so the cold didn't bother him. Feeling defeated, Atsushi goes home alone, crying because, to Sakamoto, it wasn't a real duel. While he's crying, Fukase comes by, saying Atsushi wouldn't be in this mess if Sakamoto wasn't around. The next day, as the snow melts, Sakamoto creates a new home for his bird friends. Morita, reflecting on the end of his first year, feels a sense of nostalgia. Meanwhile, Megumi plans to showcase photos from the entire year. Mai-chan discovers an elegant photo of Sakamoto taken by Megumi during a rainy day. The girls are impressed, and they request copies of these artworks. Megumi reveals a bold photo of Sakamoto taken during a marathon turning point, creating a demand for copies among the girls. Atsushi, attempting to act cool, refrains from requesting one. Kenken and Mario seek Atsushi for an emergency meeting, but he dismisses them, acting strangely. During the meeting, Maruyama shares that Fukase won't graduate due to excessive absences, and they'll be classmates next year. Boys inquire about rumors regarding Fukase's failure to graduate, and Hayabusa suggests that Fukase might be searching for something, advising others to hold on to their beliefs and not be manipulated by Fukase. Concerned about Atsushi's absence, Hayabusa learns from Mario and Kenken that Atsushi has been acting peculiar. Back in the classroom, the girls persistently ask Megumi for more Sakamoto photos. Sira tries to garner attention with a story from their beach trip, but the boys tease him about his weight. Kubota's accidental inclusion in the ladies' photo creates confusion as they can't believe he's the local diver at the beach that day. Aina's embarrassment over a photo catches the boys' attention, and they ask for copies, which was her plan. The girls express interest in Sakamoto's swim trunks photos, but Megumi didn't capture any. Yagi and Tanaka discover a photo where Megumi accidentally captured Sakamoto in swim trunks, creating a demand for large copies. The day ends with everyone expressing gratitude for being part of class, except for Atsushi, who leaves the classroom. Alone, he holds a picture from the beach trip, recalling the moment when friends tried to prevent him from diving. Wanting to prove himself like Sakamoto, Fukase appears, offering to teach him how to regain himself and destroy Sakamoto. Atsushi burns the picture, agreeing to Fukase's offer. Fast forward to the 57th graduation day at the high school. Everyone is all dressed up for the big day, but there's this one first-year boy named Sira who's in a funny situation. He's half naked and snoozing away. just like some other first-year kids. The student giving the farewell speech is a guy named Sakamoto, and he's got a surprise for everyone. Sakamoto stands up during the speech and gets everyone excited, especially the first-year kids. He tosses a volleyball into the air and, surprise, it knocks another lost ball free from the graduating boys. Sakamoto catches it like a superhero and says it's a special memento. Then he starts his speech, saying thank you and giving advice not to regret their 3 years in high school. But wait, there's a twist. While Sakamoto is talking, Atsushi shows up with a steel bat. Oh no, Kakuta tries to stop him, but Atsushi almost hits him on the head. Scary stuff. Atsushi keeps going towards Sakamoto, demanding him to disappear. Sakamoto doesn't freak out, though. He just asks for silence, and things start to get crazy. Hayabusa and some other boys try to stop Atsushi, but he's determined to mess up Sakamoto's speech. Even though Atsushi keeps swinging the bat at Sakamoto, he dodges every time. Almost like it's a cool stage play. Atsushi gets more and more mad, but Sakamoto stays cool. He even climbs up high, and Atsushi follows. At one point, Atsushi almost falls, and it worries everyone watching. But Sakamoto saves him just in time. Now, Atsushi is super angry and wants Sakamoto to let him go. He starts hitting Sakamoto's hands with the bat. People are starting to wonder if this whole thing was planned. Megumi wants to help, but Kubota tells her to trust Sakamoto and not get involved. Atsushi is mad at Sakamoto, accusing him of pretending to care when he never did. He keeps hitting Sakamoto, crying, and asking why Sakamoto is bothering about him. But Sakamoto sees something special in the way Atsushi shows his feelings. Atsushi doesn't believe him, so Sakamoto tells him to believe in himself. Sakamoto's hands are already bleeding from the hits, so he lets go of Atsushi. Just before Atsushi hits the ground, though, Sakamoto does something super smart. He uses his trousers like ropes to catch Atsushi and lower him down gently. Atsushi is moved that Sakamoto would go so far to save him. He lands safely, and holding Atsushi's hands, Sakamoto finishes his speech. Everyone claps and cheers. Now, the scene changes. Hayabusa is taking care of Sakamoto's wounded hands, and Atsushi is crying and saying sorry over and over. Hayabusa comforts him, saying they know it was all a plan by Fukase. Sakamoto heads to the infirmary for more treatment. But guess what? Fukase shows up and asks Sakamoto about everything. Sakamoto wonders if Fukase is graduating too, but Fukase says no. He shares this dark vision of life after graduation. Like a scary sea where entering it means you're done for. He says that's why he doesn't want to graduate, watching others face this scary sea every year. Sakamoto finds this idea overwhelming and says he'd rather venture into the sea to discover something new. As Sakamoto leaves, he sees Hayabusa gearing up to fight Fukase. He stops him and suggests a better plan. When the graduation is wrapping up and everyone is leaving, Hayabusa and the other boys come in to congratulate Fukase. They distract him, and Sakamoto pulls off his secret move, the knee jerk. This makes Fukase fall into the crowd of students, and they push him out the door, super embarrassed. Kubota narrates that everything ends well. Atsushi doesn't get in trouble, Fukase doesn't come back to school, and starts a new life. But on March 23rd, during the closing ceremony, Kubota shares a rumor that makes him sad and is later confirmed. Sakamoto tells everyone he's leaving to join a special program at an aerospace agency on the other side of the ocean. He's going to work on a project to take humans to Mars. Before he goes, his classmates and even the teacher try to embarrass him one last time. They throw pies at him, but he skillfully dodges them. As he says goodbye, they promise to do better and be successful while trying to hit him with pies. Just before he leaves, Hayabusa stops him and asks about going to the United States. Sakamoto doesn't give a straight answer. Sakamoto heads to the main gate, and his friends from the class window, with faces covered in pie, say goodbye and call him a good friend. It almost makes Sakamoto cry, but he doesn't show it. Watch this next video. See you on the next one.